Cain has been a teacher and football coach in West Tennessee for nearly 4 decades. It's a career that started in Carroll County.
Well, I began up in Huntington, Tennessee in 1976 or 77, teaching at the junior high school up there and coaching football with the people up there in the junior high. The head coach at the high school was Jerry Robinson, and Bobby Hayes was also there too. In the time period that I was up there, the junior high coach was Lynn Twyman. I started dating a girl from here in Jackson. Eventually became my wife, Janet Nanny, and we were starting to look at places, trying to get back toward Jackson, and just so happened that an opening came up at the Southside Junior High School, and so I talked to the principal there and Mr. Jones, and got a teaching job teaching physical science.
Gene, or Coach Cain as he's known to hundreds of former prep athletes, developed his love for football by watching his father, Gene, and his uncle, Jack.
Uncle Jack and Daddy both graduated from Haywood County High School. Both eventually got into high school coaching. Jack went to Covington and then to Humboldt and also at Murray. So, he came back to Humboldt. Won a state championship. So, all his boys, he had 3 boys, and they all played football for him. And Daddy went from Martin to Coleman, Alabama, to Warner Robins, Georgia, to Smyrna, Georgia, and then finally we moved back to Tennessee in 1969. He was at Fayette County High School. So I've been associated with it a pretty good while. I used to sit with Daddy some and watch him run the film, 16 millimeter film, back and forth, watching stuff. But they were always influential. Daddy played against Jack several times, and when we were at Fayette County, Covington was really big back then in the Big Ten Conference. So you get to see them both. And we also played them here when Jack was at Humboldt for a while.
Coach Cain found his niche at Southside as an assistant. By default, he quickly became the team's athletic trainer.
Well, an assistant coach is what it says. You assist, and you do things that would help the head coach, and so forth. I took a few classes in Martin for taping and stuff like that, and then you have all your first aid courses and stuff that you can take. Never really took a first aid course. Most of this was come up with before the trainers started. Jerry Hayes actually got the hospital to start provide trainers. Buddy McKnight and John Yarborough are the ones that really got this program started, along with Jerry, to help bring trainers in. And I've done a lot of different things, and it was always my path to follow. When they wanted me to do something, I did it. If I stayed in a certain role, that's what I did. It wound up to be the last part here was where I took care of the equipment and everything else, and the kids when they got hurt at the time, before we started getting our athletic trainers and stuff here.
Active in high school football for nearly 40 years, Coach Cain has witnessed the TSSAA make several changes to the game.
Well, there's a couple of things that I think about that don't need to be there. And one of the things is you're starting so early. You're starting off. We used to not have ball games until the first week in September. There's too many. That's one of the things. We just start so early that school starts so early, but that's just a time when you can be doing something else.
Getting acclimated to your school schedule?
Yeah, you can get acclimated to your school schedule. In addition to all the playoff games we have, there are no bowl games anymore. It used to be they used to have a bowl game, which really benefited the schools that played in the bowl game. But nowadays, the TSSAA, they want all that money, so they add extra playoff games and extra people going to the playoffs. So, it's just cost. It's not really benefiting the schools that much. I mean, you go to the playoffs with a 4-6 record, or a 2-8 record, and that's not. Top 2 teams is all you need out of the region. That makes it a lot shorter. You can pull back your season starting point to sometime in September when the weather's a little bit better and a little bit cooler.
No matter the politics, football boils down to the play on the field. I asked the old ball coach about some of the best talent he's seen at Southside and the rest of West Tennessee.
Well, we've had a bunch of kids come through here really good. Like I said, mentioned Teddy Austin, Jabari Greer for one. We got Brent McNeil, who's our head girls basketball coach here now. He was a good ball player.
He's also going to help the football team.
He's also
right
going to
here.
help with his football this year, which is really good. Haskell Murley was a tight end, and played defense, probably I think defensive end. Really good. He and his brother, both Philip and Haskell, were both very good ball players. Kids like C.J. Mosley, Carthel Hill, Chad Avery, Mark Blake, and we had two little guys that played linebacker one time, Mike Diggs and Reggie Pierce.
Okay.
I don't know if you were too small. They were about 155 pounds, wet, with all the equipment on, but tough, pine knots. They were good kids too. Then we talk about some of those guys that we've played against. Gosh, we've played against some really good kids, like the Hightower boys from Marshall County. One of them played for Alabama linebacker, and he was the younger one. He was good, and his brother was really good too. Then you got Ernest Fields over at Milan. You got Trey Teague, who played for USJ. Al Wilson played for JCM. He would rock your head. The McNarrow from Henry County was a good ball player. Got the Williams boy from Humboldt, Kelsey Williams. He was really good. And the kid from Savannah, Robbie Locklear, was a good athlete. Running back? He was a running back. Yeah, he had about like a 4,000 yard average, for 4 years. So he did a pretty good job. He was pretty good.
Coach Cain, as you prepare to retire, describe for us your attitude or your overall feeling as you leave the game and the profession you've been a part of for, approaching 40 years.
It's time. I've done about all I can do. After a while you get kind of wore out. I've got things that I want to do, but the way football is now, it's almost a year-round thing, where it used to be we come in the last part of August or early September. We start ball, and then have the first ball game about 2 weeks after we start practice. And now it's become a year-round thing. So just like basketball or baseball or anything else now, it's just become too much. So I got some things I want to do during my summers and some time now. So I'm gonna do that. But I've got a piece about it. I mean, Coach Diggers has asked me to help some on Friday nights, like doing the same things I've been doing. So I may do that for another year or so. Unless
the bride says otherwise.
I think she usually goes along with me. She likes to go into ball games. I mean, she helps me on the sideline, unload stuff and load stuff up. So, it's something we can do together.